The Moors murders. Ian was born on January 2nd, 1938. He's a notorious Scottish serial killer. Brady is primarily known for the murders that took place in Manchester between 1963 and 1965. These were named as the Moors murders. Several victims were buried along the Saddleworth Moor near Oldham in Lancashire. Ian was born in Glasgow to Margaret Peggy Stewart. He grew up in a tough slum neighbourhood in the Gorbals. Peggy found it very difficult to bring up a child all by herself, so she actually put him up for adoption, and the Solane family were the ones that actually adopted him, and they brought him up as one of their own. Ian's real father had never actually been identified, and Peggy actually claimed that he was a journalist and died a few months before Ian was born. Early on, Ian showed signs of dysfunctional behaviour and moodiness. When he could not have his own way, he would throw really bad moody tantrums and usually end up in him hitting his head against a wall. Ian soon figured out for himself that Peggy was actually his real mother, and the Solane family were not actually his real family. At school he was a bright child, but he wasn't someone that was very liked. At the age of 11 he passed the entrance exams to Shorelands Academy. His potential was never really realised because he was always lazy and he was quite misbehaved, and he started smoking, and he just eventually gave up on his schoolwork. Soon after, he developed a huge interest in Nazi Germany, and he used to ask all the boys at his school if he could have some souvenirs that their fathers brought back from the war. It was at this time that he was known for his perverse and sadistic tendencies. He started bullying smaller children, and he used to torture animals in various different ways. By the time he was a teenager, he was in and out of juvenile court for burglary and housebreaking. This is when the courts ordered him to move with his mother in Manchester, and she had married an Irish labourer named Patrick Brady. Ian took his stepfather's name and used it for his own. As a Scot excelled in an English city, Brady began to feel isolated. This is where he manifested in other ways by spending hours and hours on his own in a room reading, especially Nietzsche's The Will of Power, and this led to his increasing interest in philosophy that companioned cruelty and torture to weaker creatures. This resulted in Brady's thieving again, and he was actually sentenced to 2 years in a Borstal training camp and Strange Ways prison. Whilst in prison, he learned illegal ways of acquiring money, where he fantasised about becoming a big-time criminal where he could try and avoid manual labour. After he was released, he suffered prolonged periods of time where he was unemployed. In 1959, he began working as a stock clerk in Millwoods Merchandising. 2 years later, he met Myra Hindley, who started working there as well. Hindley grew up with a grandmother. After a close male friend died when she was 15, she left school and converted to a Roman Catholic. After 12 months of not showing any interest in her, she actually liked him. So at a Christmas party, he finally asked her out on a date. Hindley became Brady's eager student. Under the influence, she stopped attending church and started hating children. Brady had begun to become fascinated with the idea of rape and murder for sexual gratification. Hindley actively participated in securing child victims as well as sexually abusing, torturing and murdering them. They decided to take photographs of themselves, acting out their sadomasochist fantasies, as well as taking pictures of each other at the brutal sites of their victims. The couple's first victim was Pauline Reed, who Hindley enticed into her minivan while Brady followed. Hindley asked if Pauline could help look for her lost glove. As they searched for it, Brady attacked her and then raped her, then smashed her over the head with a shovel, and then slicing her neck open to the point where she nearly decapitated her. Pauline's body was then buried in the moor, which actually remained there for 20 years. The second victim was 12-year-old John Bright. He was also lured into her car, where she drove him to Saddleworth Moor. Brady tried to stab him with a knife, but the knife was too blunt, which this made Brady lose his temper and strangled him to death before he buried him into a shallow grave. Keith Bennett was their third victim. Brady sexually assaulted him in a ravine before strangling him. Hindley just watched. Lindsay Ann Downey was 10 years old when she was lured from a fairground. Brady took 9 obscene photos of her while she was naked, bound and gagged. Hindley recorded Brady raping and torturing the child. The voices of Brady, Hindley and the child were clearly heard on the tape. After they killed her, she was also buried in the Saddleworth Moor. The final victim was Edward Evans, who was enticed into their home. Brady then snuck up on him and smashed him around the head with an axe. He then ordered Hindley's brother-in-law to take the body upstairs ready for disposal. However, he ran home and contacted the police, and although he assisted them, his sole concern was just to get out alive. On May 6, 1966, Brady was found guilty. He then was sentenced to 3 life terms imprisonment. Hindley was found guilty of murdering Edward and Lindsay and was given 2 life sentences. She also received a 7-year sentence for helping Brady with another murder. Brady admitted to the murder of Edward Evans, but insisted that Hindley had nothing to do with it. He had also admitted to killing Pauline and Keith in 1986. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. There is more information, but this is much that I could fill in this short amount of time. And it's absolutely incredible to see all these people enjoying my videos. Thank you very much for Rob Dyke for retweeting my post. It's helped me so much, and it's really made me think that I want to carry on with this, and I hope you guys stick with me. I haven't got a specific schedule yet, but as of the moment it should be a Monday and a Thursday. If you guys could like, and if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. There's going to be so much more to come. So see you later, guys.